Max, it's National Signing Day. It's a big day for a lot of people.
This is
a
true.
lot of players, a lot of coaches, a lot of fans. One guy who has been holed up in his bunker, the recruiting bunker, the Brooks bunker,
Sure.
is Gabe Brooks of Scout.com, here to talk a little National Signing Day with us, a little Cruton, is Gabe Brooks. Hi, Gabe.
What's going on?
How are things in the bunker? Are you surviving?
Well, I'm usually, well, not usually, but I'm sometimes still up at 6:45 a.m. Today I had to get up at 6:45.
There's a big difference.
I don't really know what day it is anymore.
I
So you're not working out of Dan's Silver Leaf this morning?
They're not open yet. I checked.
He'll be there. They open at noon, or they open at 1, and he will be there as soon as he's done with his phone call. All right, Gabe Brooks, you got your finger on the pulse of all things recruiting across the Lone Star State. We know that Texas A&M has the highest-rated class in the state, but is there an FBS team in the state that signed your favorite class?
Well, it's going to kind of sound like a cop-out since, like you said, they're our highest-ranked class in Texas, but they have the highest-ranked class for a reason. Greg Powers and I have long been huge Anthony Hines proponents, about the biggest Anthony Hines proponents in the recruiting world. We project him to inside or Mike backer, depending on scheme, but honestly, he can play virtually any linebacker position in any scheme. I also thought that they did really well going out of state. Jamon Osborne and Kellen Mond are guys who were Texas guys and wound up at IMG, who are big time gets for him. Keldrick Carper from Louisiana can play high major ball on either side of the line of scrimmage. And I think A&M, they had a lot of numbers. I think they had 26 guys. I think they got a lot of guys who are developmental potential guys like Cameron Ory, Jaden Peavy, Carson Green, Dan Moore Jr. Notice that all those are linemen. I think that they got a lot of developmental guys who are potential high ceiling prospects.
All right, want to ask you about Texas now. The other big bully on the block, the recruiting block. I know there's some anxiety among Longhorns fans about their class. Personally, I think it's a solid class. Should they be worried, or are you more on my side?
I'm not really. I wouldn't really be that worried, simply because what they recruited the last two cycles. And how many guys have played as freshmen and sophomores, and how many guys have redshirted? You still have Andrew Fitzgerald and Patrick Hudson and Marcel Southall and Chris Daniels and all these guys from the 2016 class who redshirted and haven't even played yet. As far as this class, it's a transition class, and sometimes they can be thin, especially if you recruited as well the past couple of cycles as Texas did. So that having said that, the skill guys that they got at the top, Daniel Carter, I'm a big fan of his. He's our number 3 running back in Texas in the scout rankings. I think he's as good as any back in Texas in this class. He has the look of the Texas Longhorn running back, big frame. He's a hole puncher, a straight line top end speed guy who has size, north-south kind of guy. So you pair him with Damian Miller from JT and Sam Ellinger, and you have some really good offensive skill guys who you can add with all of these linemen and numbers that you got in the last couple of classes.
Down in Waco at Baylor, when Matt Rule was hired 8 weeks ago, they had one commit. Now I believe they're going to fill out their class with 27 signees. I was talking about this. If we're grading on a curve, that's got to be the most remarkable recruiting job in the state, right?
Yeah, remarkable is a pretty good way to put it. They desperately needed numbers to rebuild depth after the departures from all the fallout from the past several months. And, indeed, they got numbers. I think something that you have to give Matt Rule credit for, and you hear it, and you hear it so much, it's almost a cliche whenever there's a new coach coming in somewhere, but it matters, and that's getting Texas high school football guys on the staff and making connections in Texas high school football, because those of us who cover recruiting and Texas high school football, we hear who's recruiting who, and the one name that we repeatedly have heard over and over the past few weeks with kids getting recruited by Baylor is Joey McGuire, and that's no surprise. I mean, anybody who's ever covered Joey or known him from his Cedar Hill days knew he would be a recruiting juggernaut once he made the jump to college.
Absolutely. We're talking with Gabe Brooks of Scout.com here on DCTF Live. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag DCTF Live. Seems like every year TCU's class kind of flies under the radar. Overall, I like this group a lot. What do you think of TCU's class?
Yeah, you're right in the perception is that they kind of do fly under the radar. But if you look at the top of this class, the radar is blown up with the guys who are at the top of it. A late fax came in just a little while ago. They were sweating it a little bit, but Omar Manning has signed his letter of intent. The guys at Lancaster let me know he sent it. So with Omar Manning and Jalen Rager, those are both top 100 national prospects. Omar and Jalen are our number 1 and number 2 receivers in Texas, respectively, for this class. TCU gets both of them. And then you throw in Sean Robinson, who is our top quarterback in Texas for this class. So, like you said, TCU kind of has this perception of they kind of go about their business and they fly under the recruiting radar in these kind of, these national signing day circles. But when you look at the top of the class with those three, that's recruiting star power, so to speak. And you mentioned a guy a minute ago, Kendrick Van Zandt. We bumped him up to 4-star status late in the cycle because we liked him so much from what we saw this year. He can play either side of the ball. I really hope he gets a shot at running back because I think he can be really special in the backfield.
It's that East Texas speed. What about non-power five?
I'm a Carthage guy.
I never knew that. We're gonna get there. Don't worry.
I mean, I'm saying he's a Henderson guy, and I like him so much.
What about
gotta mean something.
What about non-power 5 guys or classes? Is there a non-power 5 class that stands out to you?
Well, the obvious pick is Houston. They did well late. They got Brian Jones, a guy from Louisiana who could be a good player for them on the D-line. The two names that really stand out for me are Bryson Smith and Noah Jones, JT quarterback and Lancaster D-end. Noah Jones was a late flip from SMU. And then yesterday they got David Aneni from Timberview, who picked Houston over Texas Tech. Those are kind of the guys for Houston who did well, who really stand out as far as them doing well this cycle. But I think you have to mention UTSA, several 3-star guys: Sam Barnes, Frank Harris, Tariq Woolen, Taylor Perry, Morris Joseph, Javontavius Mosley. Those are all solid 3-star guys. And Frank Wilson was known for recruiting when he was at LSU, and he's really proven that again as the head guy at UTSA.
And now, you part of your job there at Scout is you are boots on the ground. You are going to games. You're talking to kids. You're talking. You are there. Your phone number is in a lot of kids' cell phones. Let's put it that way across the state. I want to ask you: is there one or two kids from this particular cycle that you really enjoyed talking to, that you really enjoyed covering?
Man, one or two, huh?
Or 100.
It doesn't matter. I would leave. There's so many, I'd leave some out. But the two who immediately come to mind are Omar Manning and Cartwell Thomas at Lancaster. Those two will be my guys forever. I first saw them in a scrimmage against Prosper in August of 2014. They'd never played any varsity ball. That was the day I met Chris Gilbert and Tommy Harris at Lancaster, and Jamal Adams and Courtney Allen, who are at Lincoln now. They were still coaches at Lancaster on that staff, and those 4 guys are 4 of my favorite people, and they have helped me cover Omar and CT for 2.5 years, and they had they let me get quotes ahead of time before those guys committed, and they kept me in the loop on everything. So Omar and CT are 2 of my favorites. Ernest Brown IV from Denton Ryan, Tyquez Hampton from El Paso. These are guys who mean a lot to me in this cycle, and toot my own horn a little bit. Jeffrey Okuda and Marvin Wilson, those are 2 5-stars. I was the first interview for both of those guys, so I gotta I got to give myself a little credit on that.
He is the boots on the ground, is Gabe Brooks. And finally, Gabe, you mentioned a little earlier, you are the pride of Carthage. Carthage they had a decent year in high school football last year. Is there anything you'd like to say about the 2016 Carthage Bulldogs?
Well, a lot of people in Carthage probably don't know this, but going into each of their last 4 games, I probably would have picked against them had I had to make it public. But they proved me wrong, and I mean, you know me, I got to be a media guy, but I'm Carthage first. So I'm
do you feel like that's objective, or is that just anxiety overwhelming you?
It's a little. I mean, a lot of years they've won 5 of these. I mean, like a lot of years. When they're going to blow somebody out, I know they're going to blow somebody out.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, man, they after those couple of early losses in district and Silsby, I mean, they almost got bounced in the first round.
Okay, I'm gonna tattle on Gabe Brooks in the press box at AT&T Stadium. I think you were with me,
maybe. But
he came up to me and he scolded me for picking because all 4 of us at TexasFootball.com pick Carthage to win that game, and you viewed that as the kiss of death.
Oh yeah, I thought it was. I was like, this is done.
It's done and dusted. But instead, do you think you'll get a ring? You should email Surratt.
He should. Yeah.
I don't know. I think I should. I think at this point, I think I might have earned it. I think my record, their record in the playoffs. 41-5 in the playoffs.
Not bad.
And
Lord.
I think their record with me there in the playoffs is like 30-3 or something. So
they got 5. They should give you 1.
Yeah, exactly. They should give you 1.
I know. I should at least get 1. 1 for it. So in the next 5, maybe the time they have 10, I'll have 2.
There you go.
He is Gabe Brooks, covering the Lone Star State for Scout.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Gabriel D. Brooks. Gabe, appreciate your time, my friend, and try to get some sleep.
Thank y'all for having me. Y'all take care.